It's hard to believe that 4 years ago, we actually broke ground in a symbolic way. And here we are 4 years later with a monument built. Also, almost 90% of the available space on the memorial walkway has already been filled with the service of all of the Cape Verdean veterans that have participated in the program. So I want to thank you all for being here today. This is total community. This is service. This is how we come together to honor our veterans. And I want to open up our program with the invocation. So I'd like to introduce Pastor Jorge Fernandez to come to the mic and say a prayer over our ceremony.
Thank you for having me here with you. This is a very, very important ceremony, and it is a memorial because we are just reminding those who gave their lives. And it's so interesting how people's lives matters, and the history of every one of them should be staying in our memories. So we'd like to invoke now the blessing of God, and I would like to ask you for respect and reverence to God to bow your heads, and we will do the invocation. Gracious God and mighty God, God of life, God of wars and peace, we come to you, and we are here because you created us all. We are here also, God, to thank you for the lives that were taken because of the fight for peace and resolution and conflicts around the world. We thank you, God, that we can today remember them and also know that their lives still counts before us, O God. We just want to ask your blessing upon those remaining veterans, those families, and I want to thank you, O God, for those who are still standing for the cause of peace and giving and laying down their lives for us to have security, protection, and to see peace and freedom above all. And I want, oh God, to pray to visit our mind and our memories, that we will not forget this precious life that laid down their lives to, oh God, have us remember that their lives count, and we want to thank God for their lives. And I want also to thank you for the foundation of this memorial site. We want to thank you, God, for those who are willingly and voluntarily giving time and sacrificing their time to be here and to just remember that lives matters, to God. And I want to thank you for those who are here, who are coming here, just to reminding themselves and the day for every life that was laid down for the service of peace. We pray for those families, for those widows, those children and grandchildren who are left behind, and we thank for your visitation. Please let the memory of this life be revived every year, that we may consider and count their lives and value their lives and their sacrifice and obedience, and also their willingness to give time to sacrifice their lives, oh God, to have this nation continue to be under the freedom that we all are fighting for. And I thank you and I ask your blessing upon this site, and let everyone here know that lives counts, and we know that the price to have peace is so costly. We thank you, O God, for revealing what is the value of life, and what is the value of peace, what is the value of freedom, and the value of justice for everyone. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. And I will try to pray in Creole, and I think that my Creole is mixed with São Vicente Praia, so I'll try to do my best. Senhor Deus que está no céu, Deus de graça, Deus de paz, Hoje é dia de memória, de lembrança de tudo que as pessoas que dão suas vidas, pessoas que sacrificam seus tempos, suas vidas, pessoas que deixam a família, pessoas que realmente, oh Deus, paga preço para poder ter paz, liberdade e justiça para o nosso povo, para a nação de América. Deus te pediu uma bênção sobre aqueles filhos e que as mulheres, que viúva, tudo que fica sem seus maridos, sem suas mulheres, sem seus filhos, oh Deus, que perde seus filhos na guerra. E hoje quero pedir uma bênção para lembrar que inicia aquele projeto ali, nossa amiga Dona Lucy, tudo que é diretor e tudo que é pessoal que está ali. Deus nos pediu uma bênção para visitar nossa memória, para nenhum de nós que esquece que as pessoas que pagam preço, que as pessoas que lutam, não sabem nunca por hora para aqueles que já morrem, mas não estou hora para essas famílias que ficam ali. Deus nos pediu por graça, por paz, e para continuar também a sua América com justiça, com paz, e para continuar também a sua América com unidade, com união. Não te pedi Deus também, por lembrar de todas as pessoas que estão ali, que hoje que estão tendo mágoa, que estão lamenta perda de seus parentes, de seus membros de família. E Deus não te pediu para guardar isso tudo, para consolar, para confortar seus corações, e para deixar que vos paz, e para abençoar aquele dia ali, e para abençoar a memória de tudo quem está ali, e de tudo que está ali, oh Deus. Para nunca esquecer valor de que paga essas vidas, grande preço, para não ter segurança, proteção, para não ter justiça, para não ter paz. Deus não te pediu, nos dá graça e abençoa toda pessoa que está ali, que está representa sua família, seu membro que é veterano, Deus de guerra. Não te pediu, Deus, para guardas, para abençoas, para dar por graça, como deixar ninguém vive numa situação de perda. Não te pediu por graça e continua conosco, te abençoa esse dia ali. Não te pediu, Deus, no nome de Jesus, para o paz estar nesse lugar. Amém.
Thank you, Pastor. Next, we will play the Cape Verdean anthem, followed by the United States anthem. Please face the flags. Now we would like to acknowledge all of the veterans that are no longer with us by the playing of taps and the laying of the wreath. stand here today on state government land. And I want to, again, always give thanks to the state of Rhode Island and Director Yarn for believing in our project and supporting it from day one till today. Director Yarn, would you like to say a few words? This is Director Yarn, and he is with the Veterans Affairs for the state of Rhode Island.
God bless you all. This is truly an honor to share on this blessed day. This virus has changed how we approach life. But we know, as these magical words that were bestowed upon us earlier today, it's about family, a bond that can't be broken by some virus or any other trials and tribulation that we're faced with. This monument is a symbol of our bond. This monument epitomizes the spirit of Rhode Island. This monument epitomizes the spirit of our Cape Verdean family. For generations, we now have a place in this state to where our children can come and honor and give an appreciation for their heritage. Brothers and sisters, that's a blessing, because we are laying a foundation for our children and future generations of men and women being part of something that's bigger than oneself. Just imagine that. Our children are being born with a dedicated monument in honor of their heritage. To our committee, thank you so much for all that you're doing and continue to do for years to come. And I look forward to our next annual event. And who knows what lurks behind that corner. But guess what? Long as we stand together, side by side, arm in arm and locked, even with our PPE and our mask on, we're going to accomplish the mission together. God bless you, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
As you all know, the project it continues to grow. Today, we've added 36 more names to the monument. And that would not have been accomplished if it weren't for the help and the support and the love and the care of Colonel Correa.
Yeah.
Colonel Correa, this is his masterpiece. He has created a walkway in a way that will always represent the service of Cape Verdeans in the United States, the closeness of family, and the immigration from Cabo Verde to the U.S. I'd like to ask Colonel Correa to come to the mic and to say the names of all the new veterans that are being dedicated today.
Hi, good afternoon. First, I'd like to give thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Fernandez here, United States Army Reserve, Iraq, Afghanistan veteran, who's come to help today and with support for the flags, and also Master Gunnery Sergeant Kenneth Gilbert, who enlisted in the United States Marine Corps in 1966, served a tour in Vietnam, and served well over 30 years of active and reserve service in the United States Marine Corps.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And he was the layer of the memorial wreath. For those of you who haven't been here before, I'm going to just quickly give you how the monument is laid out. everything has a meaning. When Mr. Jack Alfonso, the monument designer, and Lucy got together to design the monument,
Really, people?
there was a specific purpose and a specific way it's laid out. So first you have the 8-foot, 2,000-pound tower here. It's pretty high. It has the 5 emblems of the armed forces on the front: the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard, which is seniority order. Then as you come down the monolith, it comes on and it says, "In honor of Cape Verdean veterans who served in defense of the United States." And that represents the strength and power of the United States of America and the Cape Verdean veterans who have, I have to throw this historical point in, of all the countries in Africa, we're an African nation. It's my belief, strong belief, and I can think this backs it up, that Cape Verdean veterans have had the biggest impact. The smallest nation has had the biggest impact of any other nation coming from Africa in the United States Armed Forces. And that's something we should be proud of. Going back to the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, and we added our first Civil War participant today, which I'll talk about briefly. This triangular shaped thing here, it's not a thing, it represents Cape Verde. And it represents Mount Picos on the island of Fogo. And what it has, it runs through, and it signifies the bond that the United States and Cape Verde have in our immigration here. And it runs through the monument to the other side. And it describes on the front of the mountain here, and the strength of the mountain entails are 10 stars. And I think I don't have to tell you what those 10 stars stands for, but I'll say it anyway. They stand for the 10 islands of Cape Verde. So we have United States and Cape Verde and their bond that we have with each other. As you walk up to the walkway here, and the first row here, I've dedicated to only those veterans who were killed in action on the first line. In the second line, that row is reserved for veterans who were either wounded in action, prisoners of war, or went missing in action. The third line represents conflicts and wars that the United States and Cape Verdean veterans have engaged in. We're not done filling that line out. I'm going to put together a panel of about 3 or 4 other service members, and we're going to start filling out the rest of the blocks on that line. The fourth line down, I've reserved because they're very hard to find. And this is I could go in a library and dig out names and put them on here, but we prefer to have a personal interaction with people. So if you have a veteran or a relative that was in the First World War, please come forth with some documentation. And this fourth line is reserved for World War I veterans, Spanish-American War, and Civil War. Anybody we can find who has a family connection, that line is reserved for. From there, it flows down from World War II to Korea to Vietnam and Iraq, Persian Gulf, Iraq, Afghanistan. The way I typically have it laid out is if you have a father and son, I have the father on top and the son underneath to represent that lineage. If we have siblings, I've lined them up left to right, basically the oldest to the youngest. And we have many siblings, and we have many fathers and sons who have served in the lineage on the monument here. So that's the layout of the monument. The pavers that go around the walkway, they signify the people of Cape Verde, Cape Verdean descent, and all people. And it kind of wraps around the veterans who are on the monument walkway here, and kind of embracing them and holding them dear. That's what that stands for. This is but a representative sample of all the veterans who have served of Cape Verdean descent in the armed forces. We can only put so many on here, but there's so many rich stories just on this monument alone. So if you have family members who did serve in the armed forces, if they're getting older, get their paperwork, find their paperwork, and hold that, because it's our history, and we don't want to lose that. I want to make one special announcement as well. In 2017, when we were first doing this project, a guy put a bug in my ear about a gentleman named Harold Gonzalez. And everybody thought he was Mexican-American. And he was a Marine in World War II. And I noticed the way his name was spelled. It was told to me. I went and did research. It took me about 3 or 4 months to research and find out and digging. And I finally found out that he wasn't in fact Mexican American. He was in fact Cape Verdean. And the significance of Harold Gonzalez is this young man. His father left New Bedford in like 1910 or something like that. In the 1910s, moved to Alameda, California. Harold was born in 1926 in Alameda, California. In 1943, during the middle of World War II, he went down to the Marine Corps office. His mother and father probably went with him. He signed up for the Marine Corps at the age of 17. A few months later, he's on a ship heading to the Western Pacific. Harold island hopped his way from California through the Pacific. Then on 1 April 1945, he was on a landing ship that came ashore at the island of Okinawa, and during the Battle of Okinawa, the Battle of Okinawa in Japan. On April 15th, as the Japanese kind of counterattacking, Harold and his company commander and another couple individuals were trying to get to a better position to direct fire against the enemy. And unfortunately, a Japanese soldier threw a hand grenade in their midst, and Harold sacrificed his life to save the others. Harold was awarded the Medal of Honor, and in California, they think he's the only Mexican American to get the Medal of Honor in World War II, but I've since proved that to be not correct. And I'm in the process of trying to talk with the Marine Corps about changing the characterization of his enlistment. Now that's interesting because in 1943, if I walked up to a recruiting office and said I want to join the Marine Corps, they wouldn't let me join because I was black. You could be Indian or Mexican in the Marine Corps, but not black. And Harold's name is close enough to Gonzalez. We spell Portuguese spells it with an S, Spanish with a Z. So they just probably said close enough, and they took him. But Harold has had a street named after him in Marine Corps Air Station Miramar, San Diego, which Lucy and I saw last year. He also has a Marine Corps base in Okinawa named after him, Camp Gonzalez. And it's the Marine Corps' only jungle training center. It's based in Okinawa. It's Camp Gonzalez. And I was there in Okinawa many years ago and didn't realize that. If I did, I would have probably made a trip up there. But that's the monument. We also added another one young man, 2 other people. Joe Peace is a Civil War sailor from Fogo who came over to this country on a whaling ship into the city of New Bedford in 1857. In 1862, he signed up for the United States Navy. Any Navy men here? Mr. Andrade? There you go. He signed up for Navy. And in June 19th, 1864, off the coast of Cherbourg, France, his ship engaged in a naval battle against a Confederate raider that was sinking Union ships. Now, so this is the Civil War, and they're off the coast of France. That's how far that war ranged. And during that battle, they sunk the Confederate ship, which was one of the most successful Confederate raiders of that war. And in the ensuing write-up, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. I just want to read what his division officer said, and I've kind of shortened it. But his commander wrote, he named several different names, and he says, "And Joachim Peace, colored seaman, in parentheses, leader of the same gun, the conduct of the latter in battle fully sustained his reputation as one of the best men in the ship." And that went in his boss's recommendation for the Medal of Honor. And I thought that was very telling when he said he had a reputation as one of the best men on the ship. So that's Go Joachim Peace. He was not killed in action, and when he came back from his service, he disappeared. They thought he was from Canada. They thought he was from New York. Ron Barbosa started this wagon rolling a few years ago, and he found out some information about him. And then eventually was picked up by some other people in the Naval Heritage Museum, picked it up and verified that he was in fact not from Canada. There is a Fogo Island in Canada, by the way. I think it's named after Fogo. He's not from Canada. He's not from New York. He's from, in fact, the Cape Verdean Islands. And his medal, which you'll find in the program here, sits in the museum, in the Naval History Museum in Washington, D.C. And in the middle there, you see an inscription between the two medals in the flyer when you get a flyer, and that's the inscription that's on the back of the medal. So we added Joachim Peace, and I put Joachim Peace at the top of it. He was not killed in action, but I put him at the top line because he's the Medal of Honor recipient, and he's the second Cape Verdean member of the armed forces to receive the Medal of Honor. And we wouldn't have known that without Lucy in this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, one minute. Yeah. Lucy wanted me to read the names of the inscribees. And I wanted to say one more thing. We had one individual, Edward J. Almeida, who was killed in action in Vietnam. He was, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but he was, the report says he was just a month shy of his 17th birthday. But there's a problem with his birthday. He was younger than that.
Oh my God.
So we found this out when we talked to his sister. I grew up with his brothers, and Edward J. Almeida was killed in 1965. He was the first veteran service member from New Bedford who was a Vietnam casualty, and he has a square named after him in New Bedford. But the Private Edward J. Almeida, Army, killed in action. SM-1C, Simon S. Andrade, Navy, World War II veteran, Battle of Leyte Gulf. Sergeant T'Challa Barboza, real name Marcelino, Army, Vietnam veteran. Sergeant Joseph Bentz, Marine Corps. Sergeant Sayana K. Childs, Army. Eduardo Silva, his family's here, Army. CMCN Belmiro Fernandez, United States Navy. That's Manny Fernandez's father over here, the lieutenant colonel, standing strong and tall. His father was a World War II and Korean War veteran. He spent time on Guadalcanal, is that right? You take Guadalcanal to a Marine Corps Marine, we stiffen right up. Specialist for Belmiro Fernandez, Army, Afghanistan, Iraq. That's Manny's brother. There's a few Fernandez in here. Specialist, Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Fernandez, Army. Second Lieutenant Judith Fernandez, Army. Now, Judith Fernandez is the first, I believe her to be the first female officer in the armed forces. And she was a Korean War veteran. She was a nurse, and she went back and forth between Korea and Germany during the war. And that's Manny's aunt. She passed away a few months ago. So Judith Fernandez, the first, to the best of my knowledge, the first officer in the armed forces. And back in the 1950s, that was a pretty big deal, being a female officer in the first place. And then for her to be of Cape Verdean descent, my hat's off to her. Sergeant Joseph Fernandez, Marine Corps. Private First Class Elizabeth Fernandez, Army. Corporal Irene Fernandez, Army. They sent the men and the women of the Fernandez family. They're all going out. Daniel Fernandez, Air Force. And then we come up with Master Gunnery Sergeant Kenneth Gilbert, aforementioned, United States Marine Corps, Vietnam. Major Sheila Giscombe, Air Force, who is Private Edward J. Almeida's older sister. Corporal Timothy E. Kinder, Army. Corporal David A. Leto, Army, World War II veteran. Sergeant Willie H. Lima, Sr., Army, World War II. Korea. Lance Corporal Donald J. Lopes, Marine Corps. Corporal George Montero, Army, Marine Corps, Army, World War II. Captain Steve Montero, his son, Army, West Point grad. Seaman Joachim Peace, Navy, Civil War, Medal of Honor. Sergeant John M. Reese, Jr., I understand the Reese family is here, Marine Corps. AM-2N Benjamin Rose, Jr., Air Force. Sergeant Joseph Santos, Jr., Army. And tragically, Joseph was killed in a car crash while he was in the Army. MM-2 Virginia J. Center, Navy. FN-3 Corrine J. Center, Navy, they're sisters. Corporal Anthony Silver, Army. Boiler Tech 3 Bernardino Silva, Butch Silva, Navy, Korea. You might know Butch from New Bedford. Bernardino is the real name, if you didn't know that. Private Nathaniel Sudo, Army, World War II in Korea. Specialist for Sean Sales, Army, Iraq. That's right. Arthur Tonaltino, Army. ADAN Pedro G. Xavier, Navy. And we also added Jack Afonso, the monument designer and installation, to the bottom line next to Lucy's name for his contributions in getting the monument designed and built. And those are the people we added this year. Thank you very much. Live mic, live mic.
There are no boundaries, right? There are no boundaries when it comes to us coming together as a community and as a culture. And this monument, as Director Yarn says, will serve for generations to come of the dedication and contribution of the Cape Verdean culture. So with that said, I know that we are looking forward to having you come and view the new names to the monument. Well, we have motorcycles, a lot of them. But in any event, we will stay with the Rhode Island guidelines for COVID, and we can only allow 15 people at one time on the monument walkway. We would like to just have a car or two until we reach that number. Come up, view the monument, take your picture, make sure that you have a program and a flag, and then from there you would just exit around and you can go out of the cemetery through going around the road. So I just got an update. If you will work with us, if it's easier to walk up, as long as we stay within the guidelines of the state regulations for social gathering, we will be okay with that. So with that said, I will close out the program. And again, thank you for coming here today. Continue to feel really proud about this small contribution that has a big meaning to our culture. I want to thank all the servicemen, and again thank Pastor, thank Director Yarn, thank our committee, Lieutenant Colonel Fernandez and Master Gunnery Gilbert, and of course Colonel Correa. I think I've got everyone, and all of our veterans as well.